All right, hi there, everybody, and go Cougs! Something like that, right? Go Cougs! Championship game tonight in San Antonio. The weather is going to be great if you're headed over there, or if you're going to the watch party downtown. It is going to be brisk after the sun goes down, but nice and dry and sunny during the day. I mean, everything's working out beautifully. So, welcome to Mondays with Mike. It is Monday, April 7th, and hope you had a nice weekend. Saturday was very interesting, wasn't it? We had a tornado watch. We had some heavy downpours, and some areas got so much lightning. It was like a frightening amount of lightning. We had one big one up by Huntsville. We had another, big one like downtown Houston eastward. I mean, some of the lightning was really extremely, frequent and powerful. So, but we didn't have any tornado reports, which was good. There were reports of hail from the northeast parts of Harris County. So anyway, that was then, this is now, this week's weather looks great. Today, on Mondays with Mike, I'm going to share some videos with you. I thought, you know what, it's really boring just to look at me the whole time. So, I'm trying to edit this together. Mondays are so busy for me when I'm here, kind of soloing. We got Forecasting with Friends that comes on at 11 a.m. each day, so I'm kind of taking care of that. But regardless, enough of my whining. Today we have some animal content. I always love that. I think at least two animal stories, pretty cool ones. We have a look at the devastation that was caused by weekend severe weather and actually several days of severe weather across parts of the mid-south part of the country and the southern U.S. But I want to start out with this. I came across this video. We showed it a couple times this weekend. We ran it this morning, and I thought this immediately made me think of one of my favorite stories of all time. Let me show you the video first, and then I'm going to talk more about it. So what you're looking at there is quite a journey. So this was, it's actually from a cruise line called Quark Expeditions, and this is a luxury cruise line. Now you might say, well, what's luxury about that? Well, because the people who were on that cruise did that on purpose. Not necessarily did they go through 35 and 40-foot waves on purpose, but you're taking an expedition to the Antarctic, and you're not exactly taking a pleasure cruise to the Bahamas. So this is an adventure that you could take through Quark Expeditions. It is not inexpensive. I looked it up here. They have an Antarctic expedition. You fly down to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and then once you get down there, they fly you to the southernmost point of South America. Then you get on this ship, and it's not that many people on there either. I think it holds, 138 passengers is all it has. This is called the World Explorer ship. 138 passengers, about 100 crew members. It is not as huge as like these Royal Caribbean ships or something that you see, coming into Galveston. Smaller, obviously much more hardy, to be able to maintain that kind of, to go through the Drake Passage, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But it looks like a really cool ship. I mean, it has pools and it's got a weight room, or maybe they don't have weights, but at least it's got treadmills and stuff like that. But if you would like to take this journey, it is available for the price of $25,000. It's a 14-day trip, so it's a 2-week trip. It'll set you back about 14 grand, and you get to see an island. You get to go to an island where they have emperor penguins, and then they take you all the way down to the Antarctic peninsula. But here's the deal. So, and this is why I'm so fascinated by this. So the area that they were passing through is called the Drake Passage. The Drake Passage is a channel. It's a relatively narrow channel of the ocean that's between the southern tip of South America and Antarctica. And it's like the graveyard of ships. So going back to the age of exploration, back in the late 1400s, especially early 1500s, people like Ferdinand Magellan and Francis Drake. It came across this seemingly impossible to cross area of the ocean. The Drake Passage is the most violent area of just about any ocean in the world. Giant waves, sudden bursts of hurricane force winds, and it's extremely cold. And it's relatively easy to go through that area on this cruise ship, right? Not as easy if you turn back the clock and think back to this age of exploration, or even after that, we're talking like 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, being in a sailboat and going through 80-mile-per-hour winds that are a lot of times like headwinds, and so you're kind of stuck going back and forth, which I'll talk about here in a second. Not that I'm a sailor, but this story that I'm going to tell you about. The Drake Passage is infamous for the crazy conditions you're seeing right here. There have been about 200 ships that have been lost, that have basically sunk or shipwrecked in that part of the world, at least that we know of. And it's caused by some meteorological and oceanographic reasons. You have, like in the Atlantic Ocean, you have this, the polar vortex that we talk about? So you kind of have this vortex that goes around the poles, the North Pole and the South Pole. And in the case of the North Pole, it's broken up by land. So you have Canada, and you have Europe, and you have Russia, Siberia. So the Arctic part, not that it isn't rough, it's extremely rough and extremely dangerous, as we saw with the Titanic, right? But it's not the same as the Southern Hemisphere. The Southern Hemisphere has a lot less land, and that part of the Southern Hemisphere, you have this channel, like I said, between Antarctica and between South America, where the water kind of gets just wedged into this area, and it's like I said, it's just the roughest area to navigate in the entire world. Which is why, by the way, it took us so long to discover Antarctica. Even back in the 1700s, they didn't know it was there. I mean, they knew that there was ice down there, and they knew that it was really cold if you went farther south. But Antarctica as a continent was not known back then. So I want to talk about this story that is the reason why I'm telling you about the Drake Passage. So there was a ship called the HMS Wager, and it's got a cool name too. Although Wager was named after a guy named Wager, it wasn't Wager like betting. But the journey of the HMS Wager has been fascinating. It makes me I'm so interested in shipwrecks now. So I came across this story, which, by the way, happened in the year 1741. So before the United States was a country. There was a group of ships. So England was fighting against Spain. They were at war with each other, and it was called the War of Jenkins' Ear, I think is what it was called. It was like this British guy got in a fight with a Spanish guy, got his ear cut off. And that started this, fervor of anger of English people toward the Spaniards. And plus, they were competing for territory overseas. Anyway, the whole thing turned into a war. So these Spanish warships were, colonizing South America, and then they were going around South America and making their journeys into the Pacific Ocean. And England wanted to go after them. So they sent a bunch of ships under this Commodore named Anson. So he was in charge. So you have all these ships, and I don't remember how many. Let's just say it was like a dozen ships, right? Some of them are really big, some of them are a little bit smaller. You didn't want to end up on one of the smaller ones. You wanted one of the giant gunships. But anyway, so they have to leave England to try to they're trying to time it to get down to the Drake's Passage during the Southern Hemisphere summertime. So they got down there around August in 1742. So anyway, the long and short of it is that there was a shipwreck and a mutiny. Now, how did I learn about this? Well, I want to highly, highly recommend a podcast called Damn Interesting. That's what it's called. It's called Damn Interesting. And it's hosted by a guy and written by a guy named Alan Bellows. Now, Alan Bellows is an amazing storyteller and narrator, and I don't know if they're still doing Damn Interesting anymore because, I think it's hard to make money doing long-form narration sort of podcasts. So I don't know if he's gone on to do something else. He's a super nice guy. I emailed him because I told him how much I love this episode of the HMS Wager, the wreck of the Wager, in the Drake Passage. He happens to be married to a meteorologist, which I think is really cool. But anyway, if you want to check out, this is what I recommend you do. So go to your favorite podcasting service. I use Spotify. And search for Damn Interesting. And then let's see, I want to see the name of the episode because it's the wreck of the Wager, but the name of the episode is called, A Dead Reckoning. Sorry, that's what it's called. It's called Dead Reckoning. The reason why it's called Dead Reckoning is that that's what they had to do as the commander of the sailor boat, this guy, Captain Cheap. There's no navigation. Like, you have no idea where you are, basically. And you're facing these huge headwinds, and they got completely separated from the rest of the ships. And so you just have to, estimate where you think you are. Like, you don't even know if you're past South America yet. So they just had to estimate. And anyway, they go back and forth, and it sounds like a nightmare. Plus, they all have scurvy. So, oh my gosh. So anyway, here's what I recommend you do if you like this kind of stuff, like I do. So go to Damn Interesting. The name of the episode is Dead Reckoning, and the narration is amazing. The sound effects are amazing. It's not like he's not just telling the story. It's a whole produced thing, especially if you have headphones on or earbuds or something. It has like a stereo effect. So that's where I first learned about the Drake Passage and about this story of the Wager. Then I was just thrilled, and I don't read that much. I don't read that many books, to be honest with you. But this guy named David Grann wrote an entire book that came out just a couple of years ago, and it's called The Wager, the story of shipwreck, mutiny, and murder. And this story, I'm telling you, it is the craziest thing. It wasn't just a shipwreck and then a bunch of guys who died. I mean, it was a shipwreck. It was a story of confusion, of different camps, of those who sided with the captain and those who mutinied against the captain. A story of survival, of how all of these guys, which was about 130 men, how they managed to survive on this remote, middle of nowhere, freezing cold island off of the coast of modern day Chile. It's so neat. I mean, I can't recommend it enough. So I'm just so fascinated by the story. And the thing is, it reminded me of all of this when I saw this cruise ship going through the Drake Passage, because it just to see that you would pay $25,000 now to go on this incredible adventurous cruise, but back then it was just absolute hell on earth. Life risking, life ending, all of that stuff. So, and it has a meteorological example too, as a meteorological tie-in also with this circumpolar current that goes around Antarctica. So anyway, that video is super cool, and I just want to highly recommend that episode of Damn Interesting and the book The Wager if you like these kind of true story, adventure stories. So anyway, there are some survivors. I mean, I don't know if it has a happy ending or not, but it has a really cool, interesting, with a twist at the end, but it was all real life. It all actually happened. So anyway, that is the first kind of weather-related story that I have to tell you. All right, so up next we have this. Now for some animal stories, because you know how much I love animal stories. So the first one is very cool. In keeping with the theme of the ocean, this is a look at some divers who encountered a whale. Now the divers were just, this took place, by the way, in French Polynesia. So this is in the Pacific Ocean, tropical Pacific Ocean. And what was interesting about this is that most of the time when you see divers encounter one of these huge animals, most of the time it's a whale shark, which of course isn't a whale at all. And they're known for being very gentle and kind of curious and that whole thing. But this, I believe, is a humpback whale, which was seen breaching, like jumping out of the water and all that stuff, and then went over and went right by these divers, which kind of seems like it'd be actually really scary. But they weren't hurt, so anyway, that's just very, very cool. Thought that was awesome. I wanted to share that with you. All right, again, keeping with the animal theme, check this out. So I swear, this would totally be me if I were up there. So this happened in Washington State, where this bald eagle came up and just decided to, just hang out outside of the window, staring at the dog. And the couple that you hear talking, obviously they were fascinated and wondering, like, gosh, could the eagle pick up the dog? And, is it strong? Because they're huge, they're amazing, amazing creatures. Of course, the symbol of our country. But I just related to that one so much because I know my wife would probably freak out if there was a gigantic bird that was staring at our dog. But I thought that was so cute. So I'll have to talk to Allison about it, Allison Gargaro about it. We might have to show that on Forecasting with Friends for our Furry Friends Friday, Feathery Friends Friday, coming up on Friday. So I just love that story. It's just so, so cool. All right, and then next on the list, this is heartwarming, okay? And we've been keeping up with the saga of this astronaut for a while, but look what happened when she finally got home.
What the hell?
Wow.
There's a bald eagle on our deck. Does it want to eat Noki?
It wants to, probably.
Wow.
It would if Noki went outside. Oh, she's tagged.
She's tagged.
Yeah, look at her leg.
Could she carry our dog away?
Oh, hell yeah, she could.
Oh. Noki, that bird wants to eat you. Oh my goodness, this is crazy.
No.
You're probably right about Frank.
Do you think it's hurt?
No. Throw her a piece of steak out the other window. See if she'll go after it.
Wow.
Once heard him ask who invented the Pope.
Where's my phone? FaceTime somebody.
Get over here. Get over here. Get over here. There you are. There's my big boy. There's my little Rhoda. Where's my little Rhoda? Oh, good boy. Where's the gunner? Did you give me a stick? Did you give me a stick? Did you give me a stick? What are you doing? Are you showing off? Are you showing off, clown boys? My little fat boys? Gunner! Gunner! Are you giving me the cold shoulder? Oh, you got a piece? And you too? And you too, you copycat? Are you copying, you big brother? Gunner, come here. Gunner, get over here. Come here. Come here. Oh, come here. Oh, you're so lovable. You're so lovable. Come here, you. What is he doing? He's being cold shoulder.
No, he's got face around grease, man.
Gunner! 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 Come here. Come here, Pacer. You are just too much. You know. All right, I gotta sit down.
You're looking at a reunion of Astronaut, our favorite astronaut, Sunny Williams, who of course was in space, although they say she wasn't stranded. She was in space with Butch Wilmore and other astronauts, but the two of them were up there for that extraordinarily long amount of time where it was supposed to be an 8-day mission, and it turned into, what, like a 10-month mission, 9-month mission? And recently came back down with the help of a SpaceX capsule. Well, that is what it looks like when you've been in space for almost a year and you get to see your dog. So the dog did not forget about his owner, didn't forget about Sunny. By the way, if you have not read up on either of those two folks, Sunny or Butch, incredible people. Like, she wasn't just like some lady that went to space and got stuck there or whatever. She's a naval officer. She graduated from the Naval Academy. She's got engineering degree. I mean, she's just like a very high achieving person, and she's been on previous missions in space. She's been to space a few times. She's also done a bunch of spacewalks. In fact, I think she's the woman who has the most spacewalk hours in the world, and she's near the top of all time people that have had spacewalk hours. So she's a very remarkable person, and well, I mean, they all are, obviously. I mean, you don't get a chance to be an astronaut unless you're just extremely well qualified, or if you're just super rich and you pay to go on one of those missions, and whatever. But anyway, so I thought that was really cute. All right, now for some news that isn't so nice. I have some video that I want to show you from some of the flooding that took place and some of the damage that took place across the South. So there's a couple, well, there were many hard-hit areas. But some of the hardest hit areas were places like Memphis. That was kind of right in the middle of it all. It was several days around Memphis, Tennessee, of flooding taking place, of rounds of severe weather in the area, trees knocked down. In all, as of today, from what we've been told, and there is some variation, there have been at least 18 people who died over the last several days, stretching in an area from Arkansas up to the Carolinas and up to Kentucky. These are all areas that were experiencing extreme weather. There were tornadoes in Mississippi, extreme flooding taking place across parts of Tennessee and Kentucky and Arkansas. Arkansas was hit very hard with not just tornadoes, but high winds and very heavy rain. And so flooding continues across those parts of the country. This, of course, a part of a system that just barely clipped us on Saturday. We did have rainfall amounts here that were about 3 inches of rain in some locations across southeast Texas. Particularly hard hit were places like the northeast side of Harris County. As you get a little bit closer to the community of Huffman and areas around Lake Houston, they did have some hail that fell. Was not large enough, I don't think, to cause any damage, but there was hail there. There also was a lot of lightning and heavy rain, and even across the city of Houston, we had about 1.5 inches of rain, some spots 2 inches of rain, lots of lightning. And but we avoided really the severe weather. Most of it just passed off to the north. But you take a look at some of these pictures, and it really is pretty scary. And the fact that they were going through this day after day after day was pretty frightening. Statistics here for you. There have been at least 18 people killed across multiple states, including 10 of them in Tennessee. There were additional fatalities in Kentucky, Arkansas, Missouri, Indiana, and Mississippi. There, just saw on Fox Weather this morning, near record levels of rivers in Kentucky. I think about 3 inches shy of all-time records in some spots. Multiple tornadoes, including several EF2 rated tornadoes in Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and Georgia. Some areas had over a foot of rainfall, and that's not even to mention the power outages that are in effect for just thousands and thousands of people. The damage is just now being assessed, but right now it's approaching $3 billion in estimated damage. So, all right, everybody, that'll do it for today's Mondays with Mike. Super, super busy day. Got to go take care of a few other things. Noon show, forecasting with friends. Hi to my mom and Neil in Florida. Everybody have a terrific day. See you next week.